You're a summoner? That's the weakest class in the world. The moment Lin Xiao awakened his class, everyone laughed at him. His rival called him trash. No team wanted him. No one believed he could clear a dungeon. Even a normal combat class was considered better than becoming a summoner. But they had no idea. Lin Xiao had awakened a unique S-tier talent. A talent so powerful that nobody else in the world could ever obtain it. Every single day, he gains a brand new S-rank talent. His first summon was just a tiny skeleton. Weak, pathetic, worthless. But after receiving an S-rank talent, it evolved into a terrifying Death Knight. A monster capable of slaughtering entire armies. Then his slime gained the power of endless evolution through devouring. His goblin became a master of legendary weapons. And that was only the beginning. While other people struggled to make one summon stronger, Lin Xiao gave countless S-rank talents to all of his summons. Every day they evolved. Every day they grew stronger. Every day they became more terrifying. Geniuses? Prodigies? Heroes? None of them could even defeat his weakest summon. Then the abyss descended upon the world. Demon gods appeared. Ancient monsters awakened. Even the gods themselves looked down upon humanity. But when humanity stood on the edge of extinction, one man stepped forward. Behind him stood an army powerful enough to shake heaven and earth. An army of death knights, ancient beasts, divine creatures, and beings powerful enough to rival gods. The world finally realized one terrifying truth. The strongest army was never an army. The strongest kingdom was never a kingdom. It was one summoner, and his summons. This is the story of Lin Xiao, the summoner who turned the weakest class into the strongest existence in the world. Week 1 8-hour video will be uploaded. All novels uploaded here are completed, so you will get a full story without searching or waiting. I have listened to the translated version on web, and there are no major problems with translation. If you want Chinese novel translated, give me the original name of the novel and I will respond to your request as soon as possible. Please make sure your request is on the latest video. If you hear this "u" sound in the novel, it means either question mark or some space is left, like getting materials or experience gained there more but not shown. If after a name is used and after there is silence, it means exclamation marks were used as in shock. I don't know if this will happen in recorded one, but it happened in web version. Chapter 347, the second stage of training the summoned beast mock exam. Just as Lin Xiao had predicted, the goal was to cultivate the skills of summoned beasts, and what was needed to cultivate those skills was this mass of matter before them, moon cluster material. Reaching out to touch it, the moon cluster material gave Lin Xiao a unique feeling, like silt or a black hole, with endless possibilities. Judging from Teacher Anne's and the others' reactions, training the skills of a summoned beast is not so easy. Perhaps there are other uses for it. Lin Xiao didn't take action immediately, but instead observed the situation of the others. He noticed that some classmates were directly applying moon cluster material to the summoned beasts they were cultivating, while others were cutting open their star cluster material and putting the moon cluster material inside, seemingly doing something. People who did this included Wei Tai, who directly stuffed moon cluster material into the summoned beasts he cultivated. His grades seem pretty good. I can observe and learn from them, Lin Xiao thought to herself. Wei Tai, who was training his summoned beast skills, felt very uncomfortable being stared at like that by Lin Xiao. Does this bastard have too much time? He doesn't even give me a test, he's just staring at me like this. Wei Tai became increasingly frustrated, and even his cultivation methods began to distort. Just then, Teacher An happened to pass by Wei Tai and noticed his mood. He frowned and said, "Don't be too anxious during the exam. Stay calm, or your training will be greatly diminished." Wei Tai paused, immediately adjusted his mindset, calmed his agitated emotions somewhat, exhaled, and raised his hand. Teacher and glanced at him. What's the problem? Lin Xiao is interfering with me and hindering my training of the summoned beast, Wei Tai said angrily, pointing at Lin Xiao. Teacher and glanced at Lin Xiao and noticed that his gaze was fixed on them. But it was merely a stare and could not be considered a disturbance. During the big exam, it's not just him watching. There are thousands of other people watching. If you can't even handle this much pressure, you don't need to take this exam. Go home, build up your mental pressure, and wait for the next big exam, Teacher said coldly. She then looked around at the students who were working hard to develop their summoned beast abilities and reminded them again. I hope that when you take the big exam, you will not be distracted by external things and will focus on your own development. After she finished speaking, she came to Lin Xiao's side and frowned when she saw that the moon cluster material in his hand hadn't moved at all. What are you looking at others for? Are you planning to give up on the second stage of the exam? Teacher reprimanded the students, but she spoke very softly, trying not to disturb the other students. No, I'm thinking about what skills I should develop, Lin Xiao replied. It's impossible to simply tell teacher and that you don't know how to use moon cluster material. He discovered that moon cluster material is different from star cluster material. The latter is used to cultivate the appearance of summoned beasts, while the former seems to be more than just cultivating skills for summoned beasts. It's like the inside of a place where summoned beasts are being raised. Pay attention to time allocation. Upon hearing Lin Xiao say that he was thinking, Teacher didn't say much, since it was a mock exam and he couldn't lecture him. The trial started with an exam. I didn't know anything and they didn't give me any time to learn. I was just figuring things out by trial and error. It was really too difficult. Is this the trial of the gods? Lin Xiao mentally ranted and raved. But for now, let's finish this mock exam first. I glanced at the time. 2 hours of training time and 1 hour has already passed. Give it a try. It's just a mock exam anyway. Lin Xiao started working on it, and after just 1 hour of observation, he roughly understood the function of the moon cluster material. Moon cluster material is the internal structure that nurtures the summoned beasts, their blood, flesh, bones, and further, their skills and various abilities. Applying moon cluster material to the outside is also a cultivation method that can increase the defense of the summoned beast. However, the internal structure becomes much simpler, and the intelligence is not very high. The student who directly applied moon cluster material to the summoned beasts created summoned beasts that resembled stone giants. What's needed is strong defense and destructive capabilities. A slightly lower intelligence doesn't matter, so it can't be said that his training method was wrong. My skull doesn't need any internal organs. I'll use a little to make a brain, and the rest should be enough for skill development. Let's start by developing some basic skills. That's a safer approach, and it will also help us become familiar with the use of moon cluster material. Lin Xiao immediately had a direction and chose the simplest curse, the petrification curse. He knew a lot about curses and had even lifted quite a few. Lin Xiao dissected skull, stuffed in a little moon cluster material, and began cultivating the petrification spell. I remember the petrification spell was. Lin Xiao pondered the petrification spell's power and how it manifested, then noticed a slight change in the star cluster material in his hand, which gradually merged perfectly with skull. Huh? It worked already? It was that easy? Lin Xiao was surprised. He didn't know if he had done it correctly, but his intuition told him that he seemed to have succeeded. Just as Lin Xiao was about to continue developing new skills, He experienced a moment of dizziness and immediately stopped. Spirit has been consumed. Training skills requires spirit? Lin Xiao felt she had gained a deeper understanding of moon cluster material. He couldn't view his attribute panel, but he was in a daze, which proved that he had consumed a lot of spirit. You should know that your current spirit has reached an extremely terrifying level. It takes so much spirit to cast a simple petrification spell. I wonder how much it would take to cultivate a stronger skill. A slight seriousness appeared on Lin Xiao's face, but he did not give up on training it. Instead, he continued to train a higher-level curse skill. Petrification curse should be the lowest level of curse, a level higher. Crushing heart curse should be a level higher curse. Lin Xiao thought to herself, he has endured almost every curse, big or small. This is just a ranking based on his experience. The most perverse curses are undoubtedly those that cause instant death. Going further down the list, the Cruciatus curse should be even stronger than the petrification curse. Or so it should be. A moment later, the heart-piercing curse was complete, and Lin Xiao became dazed again, feeling a slight pain in his head. The strain is even more severe than before. I'm even experiencing a headache. Lin Xiao rubbed her temples, looked at the remaining moon cluster material, and muttered, there's obviously too much intelligence to use to nurture summoned beasts. Let's try using it for something else. I wonder if it will consume spirit. Chapter 348. The second phase of the exam is over. Stop what you're doing and refrain from any actions. Teacher glanced at the time and immediately announced the exam was over. Learning from the previous example, none of the students dared to continue operating the device and put their hands down. Then, a special transparent box appeared on everyone's table. Please place your summoned beasts inside. Then you can go back. The results will be available tomorrow. Lin Xiao glanced at the box, then put the skull she had cultivated inside. Once placed correctly, the transparent box disappears completely. There's still a month until the big exam. I have nothing more to teach you. I hope you will take it seriously and strive to become excellent mentors. Get out of class dismissed. After saying that, teacher left the classroom. Finally, the exams are over. Lin Xiao interfered with my exams, so it's time to settle the score. Wei Tai got up, ready to cause trouble for Lin Xiao, but found that he was no longer there. Huh? Where is everyone? They left a long time ago, one of the boys said. As soon as the exam ended, Lin Xiao rushed to the library. He urgently needed to learn how to raise a summoned beast, otherwise it would be difficult to achieve good results in the big exam. Moreover, at the end of the mock exam, he noticed that the progress of Trial of the Gods had increased by 20%. The goal of the trial is to train a summoned beast. We're only 20% complete now. To pass the test, we'll need to improve our performance in the final exam. If ranking is part of the assessment, I can't fall behind others. Soon, Lin Xiao arrived at the library. The library is very large and very tall. It is a pure white spire. Upon entering, you'll see an elderly woman with white hair sitting at the front desk. Hello. In which section is the book about raising summoned beasts located? Lin Xiao asked politely. The white-haired grandmother glanced at Lin Xiao and said, the entire West End is full of books about raising summoned beasts. You're a student who's going to take a big exam, right? There's only a month left until the exam, and you're only now starting to cram at the last minute. She dislikes students who don't study properly during normal times but only think about studying when exams are approaching. They should have been doing something earlier. Ignoring the other person's sarcastic remarks, Lin Xiao went straight to Section C and found that the bookshelves, which should have been full of books, were almost empty, with only a few books on each shelf. Are there no books? Or have they all been borrowed? Are all the people here this hard-working? While complaining, Lin Xiao collected the remaining books from each bookshelf. Although most of the books were borrowed, some of the most basic theoretical books were left behind. Come to think of it, with the big exams just around the corner, who would bother learning such simple theoretical knowledge? Everyone's going to be learning how to train people. But that's enough for Lin Xiao. It just so happens that he knows absolutely nothing about these things. The reason why mock exams can cultivate summoned beasts is because they observe others and imitate them. Theoretical knowledge of raising a summer beast from scratch. Lin Xiao opened the first page and began reading with great interest. He spent almost the entire day in the library, learning about raising summoned beasts. We have also gained some understanding of star cluster material and moon cluster material. Just as he guessed, the star cluster matter was the type that nurtured the summoned beast. But it's not just about form, it's also about momentum. The stronger the power, the stronger the summoned beast that is cultivated. Creating momentum relies on one's own imagination and the consumption of spirit. For example, Wei Tai's dragon that he trained during a mock exam. During his observation, Lin Xiao discovered that the summoned beast he had raised was different from others. It was particularly imposing, like a real dragon standing in front of him. That must be momentum, the ability to exert pressure on others. In the first stage of the mock exam, I originally planned to train Death God Knight, but for some reason I was unable to train him and could only train Skull. So I relied on this kind of imagination. Humans cannot cultivate something they have never seen before. According to the book, when cultivating a summoned beast using star clusters, one needs to imagine what the summoned beast would look like, thus imprinting its shape and potential onto the star cluster matter. My initial thought was that the reason I couldn't successfully train Death God Knight was because he was too powerful. Lin Xiao pondered. This is not impossible. After all, Death God Knight's quality has reached mythical level, making it difficult to successfully cultivate him based on his appearance. It seems that we can no longer use Death God Knight and Snow Maiden Doll as models for the upcoming major tests. We need to consider other approaches. Lin Xiao has a vague direction for now. Continue to immerse yourself in the book. The moon cluster material, just as Lin Xiao guessed, is the internal structure that nurtures the summoned beast. Its blood, bones, flesh, soul, intelligence, and abilities. A higher level of moon clan training. Sublimation, this can't be what I understand, taking a certain thing to the extreme. Lin Xiao pondered, trying to find some examples or principles in the book to support her ideas. However, this book only contains the most basic theoretical knowledge and does not delve into the concept of sublimation, as do other books. These two words were only mentioned occasionally, without any in-depth understanding. The books have all been borrowed, so it seems there's no chance of getting any in-depth information. However, the methods used should be similar to what I guessed. After closing the last book, Lin Xiao roughly understood how to raise a summoned beast. Now that we have the knowledge, how do we practice? On the other side, teacher is scoring the summoned beasts that the students in the class have trained. These are not bad results. At least they have the ability of intermediate trainers, and 3 of them have the opportunity to advance to advanced level. Teacher N was very satisfied with the mock exam. Soon, he noticed the dragon that Wei Tai was raising. The form and momentum are perfect, and it integrates well with the moon cluster material. The cultivation of flesh and bone is also excellent. As long as it doesn't underperform in the big exam, the trainer should be fine. There's still a month left. If I give him some pointers, he might be able to make it into the elite cultivation lab. Teacher N gave Wei Tai a high score, then put his summoning hand aside and took out another one. Skull was trained by Lin Xiao. Teacher N shuddered, looking at Skull with a strange, peculiar feeling. She didn't want to touch him. Did he really do it? Teacher N nervously began the examination. The moment her hand touched Skull, her pupils contracted involuntarily, and she quickly withdrew her hand. He actually did it. In the first stage of training, there was only action but no potential. However, after the fusion of the moon cluster material in the second stage, he actually cultivated potential. Could he really be a genius? Why didn't I notice him before? Chapter 349. In the first phase of training, it can be said that Lin Xiao's training was not as good as Wei Tai's, and was even far behind him. What shocked her was that she noticed that the skull cultivated by Lin Xiao, although it had no potential, could generate a potential on its own as long as the moon cluster material was properly fused, which was what shocked her. This is a very advanced training method. Not only has she not taught it, but even she herself cannot achieve 100% success. Did he just get lucky and manage to do this? Teacher N is unsure and plans to consult Lin Xiao tomorrow. At that moment, the classroom door was pushed open, and Teacher Liang entered. They're grading here. How did your class do on the mock exam? Are there any opportunities for outstanding mentors? I reckon it's just Wei Tai. The principal was blind to have assigned him to your class. If he had been in our class, under my guidance, he would definitely have become an outstanding mentor or even higher, Teacher Liang said angrily, still harboring resentment about what happened back then. Then he went up to Teacher N on his own and, without her permission, looked through her class's exam results. Elite trainer? And Ningyi, your teaching quality is getting worse and worse. Wei Tai is such a good seed, and you can only train him to the level of elite trainer. Putting him in your hands is like a cabbage being eaten by a pig. There's still a month left. I'll go and apply to my superiors right now to transfer Wei Tai to my place, and then I'll show you who the #1 teacher really is. Teacher Liang was furious and said she was going to find the principal. Teacher N glared at him and said, "He is my student. You have no right to transfer him, not even the principal." Humph, you really think you're so capable. It's a waste to have Wei Tai here. You just wait. Teacher Liang left directly, and Ningyi ignored him, instead carefully observing the summoned beast that Lin Xiao had raised. It's a curse, and he really did it. Ningyi's eyes widened in shock. If the training of the summoned beast in the first stage was a coincidence, was the training of its abilities in the second stage also a coincidence? This isn't something you can do by chance. Curses are one of the 5 most difficult abilities to cultivate in a summoned beast. We can also focus on developing Lin Xiao. He has the opportunity to become an outstanding mentor, or even higher. Ningyi made up her mind and then achieved a pretty good score on the Summer Beast game trained by Lin Xiao. Just then, Teacher Liang returned, accompanied by another man. Ningyi's face immediately darkened. Headmaster. The next day, Lin Xiao returned to the classroom. The library didn't have many books to begin with, and a day was enough for him to read them all. When I arrived at the classroom, I heard everyone talking about Wei Tai. I overheard a few people chatting and learned that he had been transferred to another class. There are many theories about the reasons, but the most convincing one is that Teacher N was not doing a good job in his teaching, so the principal transferred him to Teacher Liang's class in order to improve the school's performance. Teacher Liang and Teacher N already had a grudge, and the principal even transferred Wei Tai to Teacher Liang's class. The principal is really despicable. I heard that Teacher Liang deliberately sought out the principal. Teacher Liang is really wicked. The students were indignant and felt sorry for Teacher N. Lin Xiao didn't react much upon hearing this. Instead, she was thinking about how to learn about more advanced training methods. At that moment, Teacher N walked in, and the students quickly returned to their seats. The big exam is about to begin, and I don't want the rest of you to be distracted by anything other than the exam. Focus on preparing for the exam. A stern gaze swept over everyone. Then, with a flick of the wrist, their summoned beast appeared on the table. And Ningyi, you all performed well in this mock exam. As long as you maintain this level in the big exam, I guarantee that you will all be able to obtain intermediate or higher training instructor qualifications. Really, that's great. Ha ha ha. I knew I could do it.
Intermediate trainer.
See that? My result this time is intermediate trainer. I thought I could only get a lower level this time. Great. Now the big exam is in the bag. The students in the class cheered, and Lin Xiao glanced at her grades. Elite breeder. This result is acceptable, but he would definitely not be satisfied with such a result in a major exam. Elite, excellence, transcendence, sanctuary, myth. This is the level of trainer he knows. Apart from the low, medium, and high levels which are considered entry-level, elite is merely the threshold. If I only get an elite rank, I definitely won't be able to complete this trial. At the very least, one must reach the sanctuary level. But it's difficult with only 1 month left. Lin Xiao suddenly became distressed. After they had made a ruckus for a while, and Ningyi finally told everyone to quiet down. There is 1 month left. The school will stop teaching courses, and you can study on your own until the big exam begins. If you lack self-control, you can also come to school to study. This place will remain open to you until the big exams begin. Lin Xiao, come out with me for a moment. After saying that, and Ningyi left the classroom. Lin Xiao was taken aback. He happened to have something he wanted to ask Ningyi, and she was the only one who could help him develop his abilities. There's still a month left. I'd like to give you special training. Are you willing? Special training? Lin Xiao was taken aback. He approached Ningyi hoping to get more books on advanced training of summoned beasts, but he never expected that Ningyi would offer to teach him some advanced techniques right away. It's like someone handing you a pillow just when you're about to fall asleep. I'm willing. Teacher N, when will it start? Lin Xiao asked eagerly, and Ningyi nodded. Before we begin, let me ask you, what are your goals for the big exam? It is difficult for a person to accomplish anything if they do not have a goal. Therefore, she needs to know what kind of results Lin Xiao wants to achieve. Sanctuary. And Ningyi was taken aback. The holy domain? Is it too low? What about the myth? Lin Xiao countered. Hearing Lin Xiao's outrageous remarks, and Ningyi said with slight anger, I asked you to set goals for yourself, not to fantasize. Is Saint Domain Cultivator also just a fantasy? Lin Xiao blinked and asked sincerely. I think I should at least reach the Saint Domain Cultivator level. Otherwise, how can I live up to your efforts, teacher? So, teacher, let's strive towards becoming Saint Domain cultivators. Seeing Lin Xiao's enthusiastic and confident demeanor, Ningyi was taken aback. She was already quite good at simply nurturing Lin Xiao into an outstanding summoner. But I never expected his goal to be so big. Great! I'm very pleased with your enthusiasm. I'll definitely give you a month to nurture your skills. Ningyi's eyes were also full of confidence. Seeing Teacher N's confident and revitalized demeanor, Lin Xiao nodded inwardly. He was afraid that she would lose her fighting spirit and confidence, so he gave her a pep talk first. If the students have such strong fighting spirit and confidence, how could she, as a teacher, not have them? Okay, let's get started now. Chapter 350. A month later, the big exam arrived. Lin Xiao has learned a lot about raising summoned beasts in the past month and is very confident about the upcoming exam. Lin Xiao, your talent is even greater than I imagined. When you first said you wanted to become a Saint Domain cultivator, I thought you were joking. Maybe you really have a chance. And Ningyi was very pleased to see the outstanding students in front of her. When I started teaching Lin Xiao, I went from being surprised to shocked, then to incredulous, and finally discovered that he was a monster. Then it became a habit. Teacher, I will try my best. Lin Xiao nodded. Now his goal has changed. He wants to take down Myth Cultivator. The trial dungeon didn't specify what level you had to reach, but the rewards for becoming a trainer at different levels must be different. Lin Xiao murmured to himself. Since we've participated in Chaos God's trial, we should definitely aim for the highest reward. However, he had another question in his mind. The trial of the gods was full of dangers, dozens of times worse than the trials of the ordinary class awakening. But up to now, he doesn't seem to sense any danger. He's just raising the summoned beast. The real danger may be lurking in the big test. Cannot let my guard down. More importantly, when faced with danger, I cannot summon the Death God Knight to fight. Just as Lin Xiao was pondering, a sharp voice rang out. Teacher N, is this the student you specially trained? He doesn't seem to be very good. Teacher Liang walked over with Wei Tai. Wei Tai was arrogant and haughty, completely different from how she was when they first met. And Ningyi ignored her and said to Lin Xiao, then you need to stay calm and not be disturbed by outsiders. Lin Xiao nodded. I know, teacher. Teacher Liang persisted, sarcastically asking, Vita told you. Teacher N, how good are you now? Wei Tai stepped forward, his expression arrogant, and said, Teacher N, I have been able to stabilize at the excellent instructor stage, thanks to Teacher Liang's training over the past month. Of course, I'm not saying that Teacher N's training was bad. It's just that Teacher Liang helped me avoid many detours and enabled me to reach the level of an excellent trainer so quickly. Lin Xiao frowned upon hearing this. It was obvious that Teacher N had led him astray in many ways. Ha ha ha. Wei Tai, thank goodness I found the principal back then and got you transferred to my class. Otherwise you definitely wouldn't be an extraordinary cultivator now. If you had come to me earlier, I think it wouldn't be impossible for you to become an extraordinary cultivator. Teacher Liang laughed heartily and praised her student without reservation. What kind of trash dares to bark like a dog here? They haven't even started the big exam yet, and they dare to call themselves outstanding trainers. I bet they won't even be able to become a subordinate. Lin Xiao spoke in a cold voice. Although Ningyi was only his teacher for a month, the saying goes, a teacher for a day is a father for life, and they curse Teacher N as simply unacceptable. Lin Xiao, Let's see who gets the higher title in the big exam. Wei Tai said coldly with a stern face. I never compare myself to trash. You can talk to me if you can catch up to me first? Lin Xiao replied coldly. Oh ho, little thing, you haven't learned much skill, but you've certainly learned to be sharp-tongued. Does that bitch and Ningy have nothing left to teach you? Teacher Liang said sarcastically. And Ningy gave Teacher Liang a cold look, then said to Lin Xiao, just do your own thing. You're right. There's no need to compare yourself to trash and let it affect your performance. Wei Tai and Teacher Liang were furious when they heard this. Just as they were about to explode, a circle of light appeared beneath their feet, followed by a cloud. The big exam has begun. Good luck. Teacher and just needs to prepare to become famous throughout the world. Lin Xiao smiled slightly, and then the clouds under the banana tree quickly rose into the air, arriving above the clouds in an instant, as if riding an elevator. One by one, students appeared, each riding on a cloud. They were clearly students taking the big exam, and there were so many that they seemed to stretch as far as the eye could see. What caught Lin Xiao's attention was a pure white palace in front of her. Because it was too far away, she couldn't see what kind of decorations were on the pure white palace. But one can feel its magnificent aura, even from a distance. I'm afraid this is the real trial of the gods. The previous ones were just appetizers to let me get used to the process. Lin Xiao's expression turned slightly serious. Although he was fairly confident that he could reach the level of a Saint Domain cultivator, he still felt uneasy. After taking 3 breaths, Lin Xiao calmed herself down and waited for the big exam to begin. A moment later, clouds gathered above everyone's heads, and several numbers gradually appeared. 2794569. Are there more than 2 million participants? Lin Xiao murmured. Then he felt a strong gaze and hatred. He turned his head and saw Wei Tai, who was not far away from him. However, Lin Xiao only glanced at it before looking away. He's just a nobody, don't bother with him. At that moment, a loud voice rang out from the pure white palace in the distance. The final exam for trainee instructors begins now. The rules for this year's big test are the same as in previous years, but after discussion among the members of the House of Representatives, some changes have been made. This time, the star cluster material will no longer be distributed. You will have to obtain it yourselves. How much you can get depends entirely on your own abilities. The news caused an uproar above the clouds. They had never heard of star cluster matter before and had to obtain it themselves. In the past, star cluster matter was obtained by recognizing and carefully cultivating its own summoned beast and then winning the title, but now star cluster matter has to be obtained by itself. Is this all the difficulty is? Lin Xiao was only slightly surprised, not too shocked. The only difference is the addition of a process to acquire star cluster resources. Otherwise, there hasn't been a significant change. Puff! Before the crowd could protest, the pure white palace in the distance suddenly spewed out a large amount of stardust, obscuring the sky above them as if they were enveloped in stardust. Receive! As soon as the star cluster material appeared, a woman quickly leaped up and used something to collect a large chunk of it. A peacock appeared in the sky, but it wasn't replaced. Soon, everyone realized that the star cluster's resources were limited, and if they were taken away, they would have no resources left to use. Quickly, make your move. Damn, I wasn't prepared at all. How much can I carry with just my 2 hands? Damn it. Those bastards at the front must have received the news. Everyone came prepared, and they took most of the new regiment's supplies. Of course, didn't you hear? They just said this was the result of discussions among the counselors. It must be for the sake of their children. Stop talking nonsense. Hurry up and grab it, or you'll have nothing left. Despite their complaints, they dared not say anything more while facing a major exam. They had to focus on the exam first. Chapter 351. Upon learning that the amount of star cluster matter was limited, Lin Xiao did not hesitate. He quickly leaped into the air and grabbed at the star cluster matter floating in the sky. It's a pity the props can't be used, otherwise these would all be mine. Lin Xiao looked at the star cluster material in her hand and couldn't help but sigh. Those who were prepared used sacks to stuff the contents, while those who weren't prepared had to grab things little by hand. The results were not proportional to the amount of material being added to the chain. He also noticed that the big exams had already begun. The so-called beginning is the start of a countdown. The first stage of the assessment lasts 40 minutes. The capture of star cluster matter is also counted within these 40 minutes. I need to reserve at least half of my time for myself. Lin Xiao grabbed 2 handfuls of star cluster matter in succession. Just as he was about to grab a third handful, someone suddenly snatched the star cluster matter he had his eye on away. This Wei Tai. TSK, you're too slow. Even after obtaining the star cluster matter, Wei Tai couldn't resist making a sarcastic remark. Lin Xiao didn't waste any words with him. She reached out and snatched the star cluster matter from his hand, along with the star cluster matter hanging from his waist. You dare to openly steal my star cluster material. You're disqualified. Wei Tai was furious. Lin Xiao looked at him as if he were an idiot. The star cluster supplies aren't yours just because you have them in your hands. They're only yours when you get back to your position. After saying that, he threw the star cluster matter back to his position. This point was not stated in the rules, but Lin Xiao deduced it by observing that the number of people participating in the major exam was decreasing. During the exam, it is permissible for everyone to snatch star cluster matter, but only during the grabbing process. If the star cluster matter returns to the examinee's position and you then attempt to snatch it, it will be treated as cheating. Is this a deliberate omission, or a deliberate attempt to hide it? Lin Xiao muttered to himself, but he couldn't care less about that at the moment. He needed to secure as much star cluster matter as possible for himself. There are 25 minutes left. We can begin now. To become a myth cultivator, we still need to cultivate a death god knight. Lin Xiao had already decided what kind of summoned beast she wanted to raise. The reason why he couldn't cultivate Death God Knight in the initial mock exams was because he lacked other understandings of star cluster matter, or rather, he lacked the corresponding knowledge. But after a month of guidance from Teacher N, he now knows what to do. With the image of Death God Knight conceived in his mind, he began to shape the star cluster matter with his hands. He didn't need to look. The image of Death God Knight in his mind would be projected onto the star cluster matter. The form is almost complete, but we still need to develop the momentum. In this process, we need to leave room for maneuver in the next stage of development so that we can develop the summoned beast even better. The first stage of training the summoned beast and the second stage of developing abilities complement each other. No matter how perfectly you do in the first stage, if you falter in the second stage, your overall score won't be very high. After all, you can't get a high score just by looking at your appearance. There are 5 minutes left in the assessment. Please make the most of your time. The announcement sounded, further freezing the atmosphere in the room. Lin Xiao looked at the Death God Knight he had raised and was very satisfied. It was almost exactly the same as his summoned beast in appearance. The exam is over. All candidates, please stop operating. Otherwise, it will be treated as cheating. A magnificent sound emanated from within the pure white palace. Suddenly, Lin Xiao noticed that the cloud next to her had collapsed, revealing a test taker who had been standing there. Then it was noticed that the numbers in the sky were decreasing rapidly. Despite warnings against continuing, some people still take the risk. In the blink of an eye, 500,000 test takers were eliminated. Lin Xiao looked up at the sky above her head. There was a cloud that stopped changing numbers and finally stopped at 100. Full marks. Lin Xiao was not surprised by this. Not far away, Wei Tai looked at the three-digit number above Lin Xiao's head and gritted his teeth in anger. He only scored 80 points. Damn it, what kind of students is he training? How could their scores be higher than mine? Wei Tai said angrily. At this point, the numbers in the sky changed again, eliminating another 500,000 test takers. The one who got full marks, come forward. A deep voice rang out, and then the clouds beneath Lin Xiao's feet began to move and lean forward. Are there 200,000 people who achieved a perfect score? Lin Xiao was surprised by this number, but this was only the first stage. After the position was adjusted, the deep voice rang out again. The second phase of the assessment is about to begin. Just like the first phase, you will need to compete for the moon cluster material yourselves. Puff! As soon as the words were spoken, the pure white palace spewed out a dark gray substance, which instantly filled the sky. Without further hesitation, Lin Xiao made her move. Moon cluster material is more important than star cluster material and accounts for more points in major exams. Stop fighting over it. All the moon cluster material in this area is mine. A man stomped his foot and leaped into the air, took out a huge canvas, and tossed it over to wrap a large piece of moon cluster material. Seeing this, Lin Xiao immediately changed direction and grabbed at the man, snatching all the moon cluster material that the man had already obtained. Thanks. After receiving it, Lin Xiao didn't forget to express her gratitude. The man was stunned. He never expected that anyone would dare to steal his things. You stole my things? There's no rule against taking it. Lin Xiao smiled faintly. However, this moon cluster material is already in my spot, so you can't take it. Fine, fine, fine. The man gritted his teeth, glaring at Lin Xiao as he said fine 3 times in a row. I hope you can make it to the next test. I will personally tear you to pieces. You're really something, daring to steal even young Master Yu's things. A girl not far from Lin Xiao saw what he did and couldn't help but give him a thumbs up, feeling admiration. Young Master Yu? I don't know him. Lin Xiao simply responded with a curt reply. What matters is big or small, none of that concerns me. My only goal now is to complete this trial of the gods. As for offending them, they were just NPCs. Despite having a large bag of moon cluster material, Lin Xiao felt it wasn't enough or even nearly enough. So when Lin Xiao was vying for the band's supplies, he would just grab whoever was prepared and brought a sack to fill with them, without any hesitation. In just 10 minutes, he had already robbed 3 sacks, which can be considered a considerable haul. You're really ruthless, daring to steal from anyone. Aren't you afraid of their retaliation? The girl standing nearby was shocked by Lin Xiao's actions. You can get away with it once, but to do it so many times in a row? Aren't you afraid of getting retribution after you leave the exam room? Don't worry. Let them come if they dare. Lin Xiao spoke softly, without deliberately lowering her voice so that people nearby could hear her. Kid, if you're so capable, come and have a fair fight. What kind of skill is this, stealing like this? Young master, you said angrily, pointing at Lin Xiao. You who prepared in advance have the nerve to talk to me like this, all high and mighty? It's a joke. Lin Xiao glanced at him and spoke calmly. Chapter 352. Those with test slots near Lin Xiao were stunned. They never imagined that such a god of plague, a robber, would appear, specifically targeting other people's moon cluster material to steal it. Damn it! It's been half an hour. Is this guy even going to train or not? Is he deliberately trying to stop us? Where's the proctor? I'm going to report this guy. Some test takers were so angry they started cursing. Lin Xiao didn't cultivate the many moon cluster materials he obtained. Instead, he stayed here guarding them. As soon as someone else obtained moon cluster material, he would come and snatch it away. Not only did I try to take it from him, but I couldn't even win against him. His physical abilities are frighteningly strong. Some prepared candidates had no choice but to give up using sacks and grab the items by hand to avoid the risk of being robbed. Hey, you're really not afraid of running out of time? There's only an hour and a half left. Also, do you really need all this moon cluster material? Don't provoke unnecessary hatred. The girl next to her saw Lin Xiao resting with her eyes closed, and her tone was somewhat angry. She was robbed not long ago. This guy really doesn't discriminate between men and women. He'll snatch the moon cluster material from whoever has the most. Teaming up with this guy is truly bad luck. There's still enough time, no rush. Lin Xiao responded calmly, then glanced at a certain spot. Seeing a girl secretly take out a sack, preparing to snatch the moon cluster material from the sky, she noticed Lin Xiao looking over and quickly put the sack away as if nothing had happened. No one dared to move. In general, they didn't dare to take the sacks and seize the Moon Clan's supplies. They could only grab them little by little with their hands. Ha ha ha! These guys finally met their end. It's truly gratifying. Where did this amazing person come from? Even young Master Yu, young Master Yi, and young Master Hui were snatched away. This is really incredible. Not only them, I saw Miss Bai Lin also being robbed, twice in total. She was jumping up and down in a panic. It's the first time I've ever seen that. Haha, that's true. I'm just afraid that this tough guy will get beaten to death after he leaves the exam room. Who knows? Let's just have some fun. After watching the promotion process for an hour, Lin Xiao felt it was time to get started. He dissected the death god knight he was cultivating, stuffed in moon cluster material, and began the cultivation process. That damn guy finally made his move. There's only 1 hour left. Let's see how you finish this. Seeing Lin Xiao begin to act, the students who had just had their moon cluster material stolen started plundering the moon cluster material in the sky to replenish what they needed. Lin Xiao was immersed in nurturing Death God Knight, envisioning everything about him in her mind. His skills, abilities, talents, these can all be cultured using moon cluster material. Sweat dripped down Lin Xiao's face as he gradually felt the pressure. Just cultivating a dazzling level talent had consumed a large amount of his spirit. It seems that cultivating a mythical level talent is not feasible, and we don't have enough moon cluster material either. Let's cultivate a few more dazzling level talents instead. After weighing the options, Lin Xiao abandoned her plan to pursue a mythical level talent. Although a mythical level talent is very powerful, it's like trying to cook without ingredients. If he knew that moon cluster material was in high demand and limited supply, he would definitely have prepared in advance. Roar! Just then, a roar came from afar, and a giant wolf howled to the sky, majestic and domineering. This is the firmament heavenly wolf trained by Lin Xiao. Its aura makes it feel like the real firmament heavenly wolf is standing right in front of you. As expected of the young lady of the Miao family, the title of extraordinary cultivator is definitely secure. I wonder if she has a chance to break into the saint realm. There's a chance. I heard that Miss Miao often went to the Azure universe to observe the firmament heavenly wolf in order to cultivate it. Otherwise, how could she have cultivated it so well? Boom! Thunder roared in the sky, and a golden, lightning-shaped elemental entity caught everyone's attention. The Golden Thunder Beast. It's a summoned beast bred by young Master Lu. It's an elementalist? I heard that elementalists are the hardest to cultivate. I didn't expect him to succeed. Of course, I heard that young Master Lu has taken the exam 3 times and achieved the title of extraordinary each time. But his goal is to become a saint domain cultivator. The sanctuary? I'd be lucky to even get an elite title. I can't compare. It's the Elf Saint King. Miss Sun raised the Elf Saint King. That's insane. I think this was her first time taking the grand exam, and she managed to raise such a summoned beast. The Elf Saint King? The Elf Saint King you're talking about, who rules over the entire universe. Yes, it's her. Hiss! Strange celestial phenomena occurred, and terrifying summoned beasts were bred, causing everyone to be astonished. Such unusual phenomena were not seen in previous major exams, but now they have erupted in an explosive manner. It's done. My obsidian dragon. Despite the pressure, Wei Tai finally completed his training. Looking at the summoned beast he had raised, and then at the others, he knew his shortcomings, but he felt that he had no problem using it to defeat Lin Xiao. Looking towards Lin Xiao's location, and seeing that he was still being cultivated, she immediately showed disdain. He had naturally seen Lin Xiao's actions and found them utterly despicable. A guy who harms others and himself, he doesn't cultivate himself, but he also harms others. Not only Wei Tai, but even young Master Yu and others cast angry glances at them. They had completed the training, but the summoned beast they had trained did not meet their expectations. There isn't enough material for the moon cluster, and there isn't enough time. The girl next to Lin Xiao had also completed her training and was a moon goddess spirit. If this guy hadn't stolen my moon cluster material, I definitely could have cultivated the golden moon god. The girl angrily looked towards Lin Xiao's location. They discovered he was still training, and there were only 5 minutes left. Does it take this long to make a skeleton knight? And do we really need that much orchestra material? The girl couldn't understand it. She was closest to Lin Xiao, and although she couldn't clearly see what he was cultivating, she could still get a vague idea. It is a skeleton knight. She couldn't understand why Lin Xiao would choose to train skeleton knight. Among all the summoned beasts, skeleton knight is just another summoned beast, and few people would choose him, let alone those who are ranked higher. Look at what others are training, and then look at you, you're not even in the same league. I don't understand. Wait, no, it doesn't seem to be skeleton knight. Why is there such a strong aura of death around him? The girl suddenly realized something was wrong. The will to die is faint, but it is definitely there. Was it skeleton knight whom he trained who brought them here? Phew, it's done. In the final minute, Lin Xiao finally completed the training of Death God Knight. Although the mythic level talent was not developed, The original 5 brilliant level talents were perfectly developed.